Hey guys, what's up? I want to wish you a Merry Christmas first of all. And today I'm shooting from the airport here in San Francisco. I've been a long trip coming back, almost 48 hours in the whole airport mess, whether on a flight or canceled flights and all that stuff. So if you're traveling this holidays, I hope it goes well for you and you don't have any misconnections or things of that nature. But if you do, just hang in there. You know it's rough. It happens to everybody, and eventually you get to where you're going.
Well, after 50 hours of being in the airport complex, I finally made it home. I finally reached my final destination. And, it had some extra bumps in the road. I met some people that I might not have met otherwise, but it was definitely a longer process, a little bit more expensive. But all in all, it was okay. I got here and I thought that it was a fair illustration to say that, as with holiday travel, so it can go with marriage restoration, that we can take this opportunity to pray for our wife or our husband who's out there, and helping them as maybe they're hitting some bumps along the road, as they're maybe seeing some delays as far as sorting out what God would have them do, and just facing some of the same questions and reservations and hardships that those of us who are waiting for them to come home, maybe they're wondering if they're going to be welcomed home. Maybe they're going to be wondered if they're going to be treated badly for the time that the pain or the the whole divorce. Maybe they're just wondering if they're going to be treated well. Well, I think we're just going to have to cover that in prayer and just realize that as the thing goes a little bit slower or it seems to be a little bit off course, that if we stay the path, that eventually we will get to our final destination. And I think that's a fair thing to remember as we're traveling for the holidays and as we're waiting for the restoration of our marriage. Well, whenever you start to think, oh, my wife, my husband, they're not here, this is really putting a downer on the holidays, think about this story. I think it's pretty cool, and I think you'll find it encouraging. And while you listen to it, check out these three aspects. Point one, notice how that they were living righteously and they were living blamelessly before God, and they were still serving Him in the midst of their situation. Part two, notice how that they are bringing their request to God, and that God's heard them. And not only has He heard them, He even sends a message at the right time through a messenger. And the third part is that when the messenger comes and delivers a message that they find a bit unreasonable, notice how God reacts, even despite what He's claiming and what He's asking of them. And just check that out, because I think it's really interesting. So I hope it's encouraging. This is just going to come from Luke 1. I'm going to pick up in verse 5, and you can just listen to it. And then I hope you guys have a great Christmas. Luke 1:5, it says, in the time of Herod the king of Judah, there was a priest named Zachariah who belonged to the priestly division of Abijah. Now his wife Elizabeth was also a descendant of Aaron. Both of them were righteous in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commands and decrees blamelessly. So I think that's cool that these people were living on that type of level where they could really be, look, that they were living blamelessly, that they were observing all of the Lord's commands and decrees blamelessly. That's cool. But here's the problem. They had this unmet desire. It says, but they were childless because Elizabeth was not able to conceive, and they were both very old. So that was kind of that was the tough part of their story. So once, when Zachariah's division was on duty at the temple serving as priests before God, he was chosen by lot, by chance, by drawings. He was chosen by lot according to the custom of the priesthood to go into the temple of the Lord and to burn incense. And when the time for the burning of the incense came, all the assembled worshippers were praying outside. Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zachariah saw him, he was startled and he was gripped with fear. But the angel said to him, don't be afraid, Zachariah. Your prayer has been heard. And I think we have to realize we're exactly like this guy. God hears our requests, our desires. He hears our prayers. And that's an important thing that we cannot forget. We cannot forget that God is hearing us. He knows how our heart hurts for our marriage, our broken marriage, and that we are longing for its restoration, and that we are, doing our best to love those that we committed to, even if it's hard, even if it's a little hard. So God hears our prayers, and that's what the angel says to him. And he says, here's this promise. This is a cool promise, but the guy won't believe it. Listen. So your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to call him John. He will be a joy and a delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth, for he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He is never to take wine or fermented drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before he is born. Wow. Okay, this is cool. And he will bring back many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God. Also very cool. And he will go on before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah. Whoa. If you're familiar with the Old Testament promise, there was this prophecy about one who would come with the spirit and the power of Elijah. Well, this verse says that John is that man. So, and why? It says to turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Man, you guys, this is what we need in our generation. Big time. Not to say that we're all bad and awful or something like that, but just, man, things could be better. Yeah? Amen? Things could be better than they are? Definitely. So, Zechariah asked the angel, how can I be sure of this? Tell me you haven't said that about marriage restoration in your situation. Tell me you haven't said that at least 100 times. How could this be possible? Look at all our problems. You know, he's saying, look at how old my wife is. Look at how old I am. You know, how are we going to have children? How are we going to have, you know, how can I be sure of this? You know, you want that guarantee. None of us have that guarantee when it comes to marriage restoration, but that's why these two things are similar. So he says, how can I be sure of this? I'm an old man, and my wife is well along in years. And the angel said to him, I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and to tell you this good news. And now you will be silent, and you will not be able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their appointed time. You know, have you ever felt like that you're going above and beyond just for believing in marriage? You know, you meet people and they're like, you're standing for your marriage, you're praying for your spouse who left or something like that, and they think like you're so weird and you're so like, you know, really committed or something. What if that's not really the perspective that God has about your situation? What if God is more like he is with this man when he says, you know, don't get divorced, don't separate, don't get into adulterous second marriages, that he really means it. But what I'm trying to say is that God doesn't look at, you know, people believing in their marriage and taking their covenant vows seriously as like some, oh wow. Maybe he thinks it's like the normal thing that he would expect any person to do, you know, in your situation or, you know, in my situation, that it's like, listen, I tell you these things and I'm expecting you 100% to believe them. And it's not like there's another option. Anyway, he says to Zechariah, he says, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at the appointed time, you will not be able to speak. So, okay. It goes on, it says, meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah and wondering why he was staying so long in the temple. And when he came out, he could not speak to them. They realized that he had seen a vision in the temple, for he kept making signs to them, but remained unable to speak. Now, when the time of service was completed, he returned home. And after this, his wife Elizabeth became pregnant, and for 5 months remained in seclusion. The Lord has done this for me, she said. In these days he has shown favor and taken away my disgrace among all the people. So I hope you find that encouraging. I hope that, you know, you see that God really does expect us. You know, he really does expect us to listen to him when he says certain things, and that it's not like it's an option. You know, he really, really does think that that's our reasonable response, is that we should say, okay, you said it, it looks impossible, and it's our natural response to say, well, we want a guarantee, you know, I mean, why? This doesn't make sense to us, but God's just bigger. So I hope that's encouraging if you ever find yourself thinking along the holidays that, oh man, another holiday, another important day. Things aren't working. This is just impossible. I miss my husband. I miss my wife. I miss my spouse. But there's just nothing I can do, and there's nothing God can do. Well, maybe this story will speak a different word in those moments to you guys. Have a great Christmas, you guys. Thanks so much for all you're doing for your spouse, for continuing to follow God. I 100% just believe tonight, because faith wavers, but tonight I just feel like He's really, He's going to bless all of us for continuing to pursue Him. And hey, as always, you can feel free to like, subscribe, or share this with friends that you have that are going through marriage separation or divorce. I hope you guys are finding great success. If you have things that are working for you and you'd like to share them, post them in the comments below. Any verses, any things like that. I really want to try to get like a community of people where, we're encouraging one another to press on towards faith and good works, to spur one another on, and to overcome evil by doing good. So that's it, you guys. We'll talk to you next time, okay? Bye.